Hi, and welcome to Open, the show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world to you. I'm Kibin Alleyne, and today we'll update what's happening in and around our borough. Coming up, we look back at an interview with an advisory board member of the Autism Grief Project who spoke about their online platform that is helping autistic adults. Then the executive director of Operation Warm speaks on how they are providing new coats and shoes to children in need across North America. After that, we revisit an interview with an outreach care consultant for PSS Circle of Care to learn how they help provide free services for unpaid caretakers. And finally, the executive director of Reach Out and Read Greater New York speaks on how they provide books and training to over 230 Reach Out and Read programs in predominantly low-income communities in New York City. So stay tuned to all this and much more is headed your way because we're now officially open. Hello everyone, I'm Kibin Alleyne and today is Tuesday, October 1st. You are now watching Open, a program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to you. Don't forget to stay connected with us via social media at BronxNet TV. Let's take a look at this segment where we highlight the Autism and Grief Project. The organization offers an online platform to help individuals on the spectrum cope with the complexities of grief and loss. Advisory board member for the Autism and Grief Project, Dr. Kenneth J. Doka, joined me to discuss. Let's take a look. Now, the Autism and Grief Project launched in 2022. Can you tell me more about what sparked the inspiration to create this organization?
Sure. The basic reason was that there are a lot of resources for children on the autism spectrum about grief, but almost none, actually none that I'm aware of for adults. So the Hospice Foundation really, the Autism and Grief Project was launched in September of 2002 by the Hospice Foundation of America with a grant from the NLM Family Foundation. And what it tries to do really is it's a virtual toolkit. It's a one-of-a-kind platform with a mission to help adults with autism navigate and cope with the complexities of grief. And that arises from the loss of a person or a non-death loss, and we offer all kinds of resources to family, to the person with autism, to professionals. We offer firsthand accounts of grief, what we call social stories, videos, links to provide support. It's a real toolkit for people involved in loss and grief, and those trying to help persons with autism.
Now, I would love to explore, what are some ways that grief affects those with autism different from those who are considered neurotypical?
Okay. Well, I think you have to realize we're talking about two spectrums. Grief is a spectrum, and there's no single way that people respond to grief. Grief affects us on many, many levels: physically, emotionally, cognitively, spiritually, behaviorally. And then, of course, autism is a spectrum, where some people on the spectrum are very high functioning, and others might not even realize or recognize that they struggle with autism, to others who are nonverbal. So, so it's a wide project. And I think often people with autism may have difficulties expressing their behaviors and expressing their grief in particular ways. And so the project really tries to validate those different responses to grief and respond to people who are really struggling with grief. Others may see their responses as inappropriate, incongruent, or indifferent, and that might limit their support. For example, I once interviewed a young adult who had lost her father. She was very, very close to her dad. But whenever she was nervous, whenever she was grieving, she had this kind of nervous giggle. So she would, say, my dad died. And to other people, it just came off as very, very strange. But that was her way of expressing her nervousness.
I'm so glad that you pointed that out because it further um, just makes it known that everybody deals with grief differently. And so I appreciate you for pointing that out. How does your organization ensure that they support each individual based on their specific needs? And, what are some ways that we as a society can just be a little bit more aware of that?
Um, well, one is to go on our website. That might help. Um, griefandautism.org. But I think loss is really very much a part of life, and as I said, people respond differently. And what we try to do here is by offering a whole host of different resources, some verbal, some nonverbal, and we offer them. We have three tracks really in the in the program on the site. One is for people with autism, one is for their family members, and one is for professionals. And people can navigate through any of those three. So it really is a kind of valuable resource, and really seeks to help people with autism understand, validate their own responses, but also helps those with it who are working with people with autism, whether as a family member or professional, to have a greater understanding.
Now, one of the organization's guiding principles is diversity and inclusion. How does your organization prioritize diversity?
Well, first of all, we understand that in grief in general, in hospice care, there has been a disparity where black and brown populations have not always made as much use of these facilities, may not be aware of them. And also because much of the early research was prioritized to support white children and with autism. And as a result, um, black and brown children have often been misdiagnosed or not diagnosed at all until they reach adulthood. And so there aren't as many services for them. But I think what we have really tried to do is to be inclusive as possible. There's been a tremendous effort in raising awareness about autism um, in these communities and bridging gaps in resources. So we're really trying to make this more available to people um, and more open and more inclusive.
Now, can you talk a little bit more about the history of this? Because I think it's very interesting that, as you mentioned, for a very long time, a lot of Black and Latino or Black and Brown children were either misdiagnosed or just not diagnosed at all. What effect did this have on the community of people who did have autism within these communities?
Yeah, and unfortunately, the effect was negative because they weren't getting the resources that they needed to maximize their ability to interact. So it was really important that I think a project really focused, that was open to diversity, that was open to inclusion, that was open to empowerment, and that would allow people with autism to get personal support, but also to help people who were dealing with them both professionally and in the family to also provide resources for them. I think it was an incredibly important project. I was very proud to be part of it.
Now, how can a lack of resources, and I think for those who may not work in this community, they may not be aware of what those resources may look like. But how can a lack of resources affect those who live with autism, but also, caregivers and friends and people who support those with autism?
Well, as I said, we're dealing with a spectrum. So I think the first thing we need to do is to understand that spectrum. And if there's not information out, if there's not information that's accessible, obviously that's going to complicate the situation somewhat. So again, what we tried to do was to really provide you might say, one-stop shopping, where people who have any relationship to the autism community, whether it's a professional caregiver, a clergy person, for example. Clergy can be critically important here in helping people identify and helping them find resources. People who would never think of going to a psychiatrist or a psychologist would be, maybe very, very open to just talking with their local priest or pastor or minister or rabbi or imam, whatever that person is. So again, we wanted to provide resources to all those involved in the community, to all those involved in care.
Now, I also want to take a moment to highlight this, which I was very happy to see. There's also an information portal dedicated to friends and family of autistic adults because I believe that it truly is a community effort. And, the saying that it takes a village, I think this kind of like proves that, correct. So, can you talk a little bit more about the importance of having that feature?
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important features we have. There, professionals often find information. As I said, there are services for people with autism, but it's really important to recognize that people with autism, like anybody else, all of us, are encased in communities, are encased in what I call intimate networks. And you want to get information out to those networks so those networks can really provide support. And so I think this I think is one of the, to me, one of my favorite features is that it really does speak directly to three very distinct populations in ways that doesn't create silos, but creates the exchange of information across these three groups.
And I also want to highlight, which was also extremely important as well, that there was something there for caregivers. And
Yeah.
there's a focus on, self-care tips, which is so important. Can you talk a little bit more about, that addition to the website?
Yeah. As I said, we have three tracks on the website, but they're not exclusive. You can go between one and the other. One is professional caregivers, one is family caregivers, and one, of course, is persons with autism. And and of course, when you're dealing with someone with autism, it can add stress, especially if they're uh, on the lower end of the spectrum, so to speak, where they require much more care and much more support. And so it's important to talk about self care too. You know, um, I think we get a lesson whenever we go on a plane. We get a lesson on self care, and it's an important lesson. And the lesson is that when they're giving the opening announcement, they say, if oxygen comes out and you're sitting with a child, put your mask on first, and then help the child. And it really reminds us, unless we take good care of ourselves, it becomes much harder to care for other people. So we've got to learn from our airplane experiences to put the mask on ourselves and take care of ourselves if we're going to help others. And again, for caregivers, that's sometimes tough because we don't like to admit our own vulnerability.
Right. Now, I appreciate you for taking the time to explain this, and I think that the organization is doing amazing work. I know early in the interview you mentioned that you're so proud to be a part of this. Can you just talk a little bit more about your experience just being a part of this, this project and kind of helping this community?
Um, well, I think it's important to remember that I've been involved in the Hospice Foundation for probably over 30 years as a consultant and now as senior vice president and part of this project. And one of the things that I've really enjoyed about the Hospice Foundation is that it has really pioneered access to hospice by groups that are often um, not considered, and services to grieving people from those groups. So a number of years ago, we did some extensive work, Hospice Foundation of America, in working with families with persons with intellectual disabilities. And it's part of a broad outreach that we've always had. We've always tried to be as inclusive as possible and to reach out to populations um, who may not be getting the best mainstream services, maybe because of class differences, ethnic differences, neurological differences. So, as an organization, we're pledged to inclusivity.
Well, Doctor, I want to thank you so much for joining us and, really sharing this very valuable information with our community. So thank you again.
Yeah, and again, anybody who wants to see the material, it's autismandgrief.org.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for inviting me.
Once again, to learn more about the work of the Autism and Grief Project, visit their website at autismandgrief.org. Don't go
Thank you to the team at the Autism and Grief Project for setting up this interview. Don't go away, we'll be back with more Open after this.
What's up, creative family? Discover your voice with BronxNet community media classes. Are you ready to bring your ideas to life? At BronxNet, we offer television production classes for community members ages 18 and over, empowering you to share your vision with the world. Get certified in field production, in-studio production, and our new exciting addition, podcast production. Once certified, you can create your own show to air on one of our 6 TV channels. It all starts with our free Unleash Your Ideas Masterclass, designed to help you plan your show idea and set you up for success on your production journey. This class is offered at the beginning of each month for your convenience. Our dedicated BronxNet team is here to support, encourage, and uplift you every step of the way. Join us and become a part of the creative force that engages and inspires the Bronx community and beyond. Sign up today and start your media journey with BronxNet. Visit bronxnet.org/education to learn more and register. Let's create something amazing together.
Welcome back. For the past 25 years, Operation Warm, a national nonprofit, has provided new coats and shoes to children in need across the country. The organization hopes this mission will alleviate stress and ensure every child can face the school year with confidence. Executive Director of Operation Warm, Grace Sica, joins me to discuss this effort. Grace, thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, Kevin. It's nice to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Now, can you tell me a little bit more about the inspiration behind the creation of Operation Warm?
So, absolutely, it'd be my pleasure. Operation Warm was started 25 years ago by our CEO and chairman, Dick Sanford. He had been a very successful businessman in the tech sector and was driving through his community outside of Philadelphia and saw some children waiting outside at the bus stop, and they didn't have coats on, and it was a bitterly cold day. And at that moment, he said to himself, I know that these kids should have coats. I know that they need coats to wait at the bus stop happily and be prepared for school mentally and emotionally. So he went to a local store and purchased 58 coats. He found some children to give them to, and that was really the beginning of our organization. From there, the program was adopted by Rotary clubs and then by fire departments across the country. And now we work with organizations of all types to help children across the United States and Canada.
Now, I love that the organization is looking just beyond the school building on how kids can be affected in regards to their performance at school. With that being said, what specific impact has Operation Warm had on student attendance and performance over the past 25 years?
You know, we work with thousands of communities across the United States every year. And so when we are done with our distributions of brand new winter coats and brand new athletic shoes, we regularly hear from school administrators and classroom teachers that having a brand new winter coat and or brand new shoes really helped the children get to school and deal with inclement weather, walk to school if they are in a walking program, and also show up more confidently. So we have loads of anecdotal evidence from our partners that having a brand new winter coat and a brand new pair of shoes really can help children address some of the hurdles to getting to school.
Now, how does Operation Warm identify and reach out to families and children in need of coats and shoes?
So our team at Operation Warm is a pretty small staff. We've got about 50 people, but we serve about 2,500 communities across the United States and Canada. So the way that we do that, Kibin, is we partner with schools and nonprofit agencies across the country who work directly with children every day. So if you are a school or a nonprofit and you have kids in your care who you know are in need of these basic items, you can apply to Operation Warm, and then we work to match those requests with funders and send coats and shoes to those organizations for distribution. So we don't work directly with individual children or families. We work and serve organizations who serve those kids in the community and can identify the needs of individual children.
Now, we talked a little bit about the coats, but I understand that there is something interesting going on with the shoes, and they have different features. Can you tell me a little bit more about that and how it's designed to support a child as they continue to grow?
We are so excited about our shoe program. So we've been giving away coats for 25 years, and we have a coat that we are really, really proud of. It's cool colors, it's got a hood, it's comfortable, deep pockets. And just 5 years ago, we launched a program to provide children brand new athletic shoes. We did that because we had heard from schools and nonprofits across the country, across the New York region, saying to us, do you know where we can get brand new shoes for our kids? So we launched a shoe program, and we're releasing a brand new version of the shoe this fall for back to school. And it's very cool. It's got some great upgrades. It's a sturdy athletic style. It has lots of really cool color combinations. And there's some vegan leather accents. So it's something that I would be really proud to wear. I'm waiting to get a pair in my size.
Now, can you talk a little bit more about the role that volunteers and community partnerships play, in regard to outreach and just the overall mission of Operation Warm?
Yeah, we could not do what we do without volunteers, and I think that that's true for so many nonprofits, and we are one of them. So we work with volunteers to identify children in their community. We work with volunteers to fundraise in the local community, and we also work with volunteers to run events in the local community. So all of those roles are critical to our programming every year when we get started, right about now at the start of the school year.
Now, I understand that there's something called the School Ready campaign. Can you give me more information about that?
So the School Ready campaign is our effort to raise awareness of what kids need to be prepared for school. Back to school is a really expensive time for parents. I recently read that the average family is going to spend about $600 per child to get ready for back to school. And that's a burden, especially if you're already struggling to make ends meet. So our School Ready campaign is designed to raise awareness about the cost and to help families to meet the needs for their kids for the year. So with School Ready, we're aiming to ensure that children who have requested coats from our wish list are receiving those items at the start of the school and are prepared for the fall and the winter.
And can you tell me, what impact this is having on a child's self-esteem as well as their school engagement?
So at Operation Warm, we like to use the phrase that we are more than a coat. And that's because we really believe that the gift of a brand new winter coat or brand new athletic shoes provides a child warmth, confidence, and hope. And I think that, on an individual level, we all know that. When you know that you look good, you also feel good and are more confident going into any situation. And that's true for kids as well. When they are going into school and they feel really confident about what they're wearing and they're really comfortable, we know that they're going to perform better in class. So we really are committed to the belief that we are more than a coat and that the impact that we have with kids is mental and emotional, not just physical.
Now, as we learned, Operation Warm is supporting North America, which is a huge task, just in of itself. But, can you tell me what are some of the challenges Operation Warm, faces when there's so much need across, large amounts, different backgrounds, just so many different people have this need. What are some of the challenges that you see in that?
Yeah, I think that, there are areas where we have a lot more requests than others. So, for example, already this year we have 100,000 requests from New York. And identifying enough funding to support all of those children in New York is a very real challenge for us. So, I think that in an environment where the need is really great, identifying enough support to meet that need is critical. And a large portion of that is awareness. We want people to know that we're here. We want to provide donors and individuals a really tangible way to support children in their community. And raising awareness for our mission and for our School Ready campaign is a great opportunity to do that. Thanks so much for this story, Kibin. You're part of helping us to spread the word about what we're doing and to make sure that more kids are equipped for the school year.
Of course, and thank you so much for joining us. With that, I want to know, what are some things that individuals watching can do to kind of support this mission?
Oh, they're right on time to get involved because we're at the start of the school year. So if you visit our website, operationwarm.org, there you can see opportunities for engaging by making a donation, engaging by volunteering in your community, or learning more about how you could receive coats and shoes for the children that you serve every day. So I encourage people to definitely get to our website, find us on the social channels, and learn more about concrete ways that they can engage and make a really impactful donation to help children in their community.
And I definitely think this is something that's needed, um, obviously in New York, but as mentioned, throughout the country. Can you just tell us a little bit more about, just Operation Warm's plans to expand its reach and impact in the coming years to address the growing needs of children, that need coats and shoes?
Yeah, I think, Kibin, that one of the exciting things about what we do at Operation Warm is we try to be really responsive to the organizations that we partner with. And the evolution of our shoe program came from just that. We heard from organizations and schools across the country asking for shoes for their kids. So I think that we're really excited to see what these partnerships bring into the future. One of the things that we're working on rolling out right now is a program to provide girls in under-resourced communities sports bras as a part of sports equipment. And that's again from direct feedback from a school district saying, hey, this is a missing link for girls, but if we were able to provide girls this item, we really think that it could move the needle on sports participation. So I'm excited to kind of bring all of our resources and all of the innovation that we can to providing kids what they need in the coming years, and eager to build more relationships and to learn more about what's needed.
Now, can you quickly tell us a little bit more about Operation Warm wish lists?
Yes. So the wish list is how organizations who serve children can apply to receive coats and shoes from us. So if you visit our website, it's really prominently placed, and it's a pretty brief application, but it helps us to understand the children that you serve, the ages, and also what other services you're providing them so that we can find a way to incorporate our coats and shoes into your existing program. Because one of the most important things, Kibin, for us is making it really easy for children and families to get these items. We know that when we distribute it through an existing program, it is appreciated by everyone. So the wish list is our tool to do that. So if you are a part of an organization, if you're a teacher, that's where you can go and apply to receive those items for the kids that you see every day.
Well, Grace, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thanks so much.
If you would like to learn more about their mission to help support those in need, please go to their website at operationwarm.org. Stay tuned, we have more for you right after this.
19.7% of Bronxites currently experience food insecurity. Meanwhile, instead of these nice, colorful foods, this is the best food that they have access to. If this sounds like you, there are a bunch of resources to get healthy food for free or cheap. If you want to help, you might consider donating or volunteering in one of these places. Community fridges like this one are all over the city and allow New Yorkers to conveniently donate extra food to people who might need it. Go to this link and find your nearest one. Food banks and pop-up events like these provide millions of healthy meals to families in need. These organizations are distributing meals to Bronxites as we speak and are always accepting donations and volunteers.
Welcome back. Founded in 1962, Presbyterian Senior Services, now known as PSS, aim to serve seniors in the local community. Let's take a look back at this interview with the Outreach Care Consultant for PSS Circle of Care, Emily Ceballos, to discuss their ongoing commitment to upholding this mission.
Emily, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Now, yeah, you can.
Oh, no, of course, you can go.
So I wanted to learn a little bit more about PSS and their overall mission.
Yeah, so the overall mission here at PSS is to really strengthen the capacity of our older New Yorkers and communities to really thrive, as you were talking about before. We are a multi-service agency. We work on delivering the essential tools, programs, and resources that these community really needs. We operate 10 older adult centers, 1 residential building, which would be the Alberta Austin House. We offer New York Connects in Brooklyn. We offer case management in the Bronx. And then finally we get to PSS Circle of Care, which is for kinship caregivers, which could be grandparents raising grandchildren. And then we offer for caregivers that are caring for someone who is experiencing memory loss, chronically ill, or just frail in general. So that can be mainly, we are mainly based in the Bronx, Brooklyn, and Staten Island.
Now, I want to talk a little bit more about Circle of Care, just because I know I said PSS Circle of Care,
Yeah.
but that is just one part of the organization's
Yes,
overall
exactly.
effort. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So yeah, PSS Circle of Care is a program that PSS offers. We are funded by the city and state government to provide these free services to unpaid caregivers. So that, once again, is for somebody who's chronically ill, frail, or experiencing memory loss. And we, that's what we prioritize in Circle of Care.
Now, as I mentioned, the organization began in 1962.
Yes.
How has the organization evolved since then?
Yes, so since then, it started off as volunteers that would kind of just service the church community, the members of their church community, but now it has since then expanded. We want to reach, obviously, more of those older communities and their families, and we really just want to offer them with the services that we offer, any additional programming. So that's how we've evolved since then, and just expanding our outreach.
Now, why is it crucial to provide these services to seniors in the community? But I will even go further and say it's not just for seniors, but
Right.
it's also for their community and the people that take care of them.
Right, because it always affects, their environment and, their day-to-day life. So definitely. And I would say it's definitely crucial because, of isolation and loneliness. We really want to allow our services to permit them to stay healthy, engaged, and connected to their communities without feeling isolated. So that's always a priority for us, definitely.
Now, what I also think is so important, and I think for a lot of younger New Yorkers, we tend to overlook this because we're not at that stage of life yet. But one of the organization's values expands on the mission to recognize older adults as a vital part of New York City. Can you just first tell us, what are some of the challenges older New Yorkers face, just in visibility or maybe some services that they need?
I think, what I was touching on before is perfect to say. It's just the isolation and loneliness. I think that New Yorkers tend to, these older New Yorkers, as they get older, I think maybe perhaps we don't relate to that, as we were saying, but, that's one of the things that they mainly deal with, especially as a caregiver, and going through that, and then also having to deal with that, coinciding. So that's one of our definite priorities and definitely very vital.
Now, how does your organization ensure that they prioritize inclusivity, and what does inclusivity look like at PSS?
So inclusivity, so we have a very structured outreach plan that is very targeted to the underserved communities that we serve. So whether that's through in-service presentations or, stepping out into really targeting these communities and making sure that they are really getting that support that they need with the services that we offer. It's a bit more niche, but we really want to make sure that we are really tying in those communities, especially those that may not know that they have those resources available.
And I also want to expand, are there anything for maybe people who speak different languages? Because I can imagine if you are Spanish speaking, or you speak another language that's not English, and the people
Yeah.
caring for you only speak English, that could also be a little
Right.
isolating. So is that something that the organization looks at, whether it's culturally, maybe speaking different languages, or is that something that you want to
Yeah.
expand on?
Yeah, for example, in the Bronx, we definitely look about, there's this very Spanish-speaking population, and we talk about, in the Bronx, for example, that's something that we take into consideration a lot. Just, so I, for example, am a bilingual outreach care consultant. That's something that we really much value in the way that we speak to the people that we serve. So, that is definitely something that we think about. Absolutely.
Now, can you discuss the importance of providing a safe space for caregivers to discuss their concerns?
Yeah, so we always want to provide a safe space in the sense where we want our care consultants to always provide that safe space, and they always do. They always have play a significant role in supporting our caregivers. They always listen to their challenges, always provide them with the necessary resources. If they need to offer you time off in or outside of the home, they'll offer you that. They will invite you to support groups with other caregivers. So they really just are there to listen to your concerns and really address those problems that you need with the right solutions.
Now, the organization includes the community, because that's also a big part of it, by offering opportunities to get more involved. Can you tell me about the volunteer opportunities?
Yeah, so there's like a couple volunteer opportunities. I would say it's definitely more on our website, but we have front desk opportunities, clinical assistant, kitchen aid, outreach volunteer, anything workshop facilitator, support group facilitators, things like that. But that's definitely much more available on our website. But you can definitely take a look there, and we have some opportunities for sure available.
And I want to talk a little bit about the caregivers just for another moment, because I know that our society now, we're leaning more towards appreciating caregivers.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about that shift and like how we're just kind of like highlighting them a little bit more and understanding that, being a caregiver, whether it's like through your job or maybe you're taking care of a parent or, someone who needs the help, that, that support is definitely needed.
Yeah, and I think, I want to go into, I think what I've been mentioning before about like isolation and loneliness. I think even with like the pandemic and also just like understanding how, important a caregiver's task is, and it's mostly unpaid as well. So it's not really, you're not really getting thanks that often. So just to really be an organization that is able to listen to these caregivers that are facing these problems is so important for us. And I'm so glad that that shift is taking place, or like even in progress too, just because, it is, only increasing, and the things that they have to address is, as a caregiver are very hard. So we really want to make sure that that's recognized and that they're given the proper support, especially for being here. Yeah.
Now, speaking of support, PSS often hosts events.
Yeah.
Can you give us more details about your upcoming events? I know there's one in March that focuses on stress, anger, and negativity. So can you tell me a little bit more about that?
So that's that'll be on March 6th. It'll take place from 3 to 4:30 p.m. and it'll be hosted by Scott E. Weiner, who has a PhD in philosophy, and it'll be just kind of a 1-minute self techniques that you can learn to kind of let go of stress, practice, relax rapidly, just kind of find those techniques to really prevent stress.
Now, how can those who need resources or need the resources that PSS offers learn more about it? And are there any eligibility requirements?
So if you ever do want to check out more about us, you can always check out our website, pssusa.org, or you can check out our hotline. And the eligibility requirement is family caregivers, older adults, and kinship caregivers. And our purpose here is always to help them with what they want and when they need it. We have a bunch of programs available, and as I said before, we have our website and hotline, so please reach out.
Now, can you tell us a little bit more? I know that we talked about the event on March 6th, but can you tell us a little bit more about some other events that PSS hosts, or maybe some things that you've had in the past?
Other events, I don't think I have it on the top of my head right now, but I will say we do have an events page on our website that will have everything listed as to what's coming up. So you can always check out our website on our events page, and you can always find out what we have going on there. But that's why. That's my job.
Now, I want to also highlight really quickly
Yeah.
the internship opportunities because I think that is so important for so many people. So, can you talk about some of the internship opportunities that are available for people, even in middle school to post grad?
In middle school, that's another thing that I would prefer to check out on our website. That is another detail that I don't know too much about, but I do know that we do have internship opportunities. We do have volunteer opportunities as well. And us being, a nonprofit organization, there's definitely so much room to be in those areas. But that's as far as I can tell you right now for that as well. But definitely check out our website. Absolutely.
Of
and
course.
we can have some there.
Well, I also want to know what kind of got you
Yeah.
into this field because I think it's so amazing when we see people kind of
Yeah.
go into these types of fields. So, what kind of inspired you to kind of be a part of this community?
I really, when I first started off, I really liked the company. I really liked what they do here. I think, I like nonprofit work. I never knew exactly what area, but I really like the company's values. I think that when you value, something so, I don't want to know if the word's niche, but, caregivers are somebody in, or a profession that just doesn't feel like it's thanked for enough. So I think that, working with a nonprofit that is so passionate about what they do and being able to give back and like being able to work with a company that I like what they do as well, and it coincides, and it's just been able to, I learn a lot, and there are things that I've learned about caregiving and dementia that I've never learned about before, and it makes me care even more and want to make me do my job even harder.
Yeah, and I agree. It's definitely an area that is often overlooked.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes even like when we talk about like career, like what we do in our careers, it's often like not something that people talk about as a place that you can go into. But it's definitely a community
Right.
that needs that, not only just needs that assistance, but they're a part of the community.
Yeah.
And so I love that the organization is, said that they want, seniors in New York to be a part of the community.
Exactly.
So I want to appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on the show and talking about this. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
To learn more about the amazing services that PSS Circle of Care offers, go to their website at www.pssusa.org or call them on their hotline at 212-874-6633. Again, that number is 212-874-6633.
Thank you to the team at PSS Circle of Care for coming on the show to help inform our viewers of the work they're doing. We have to take a quick break. We'll be back with more Open after this.
Hey, creative family. My name is Timothy Coleman, and I'm the Director of Education here at BronxNet. And I'm standing in BronxNet's Media and Technology Studios in the South Bronx, because I want to let you know about an amazing program that we're bringing back that highlights the creativity of community members just like you. Emerging Media Makers is a show that introduces you to BronxNet's certified producers. They've taken a step in their creative journey by enrolling in BronxNet's media training classes. On this show, you'll get to see the many ways that our certified producers have created a space that's all their own. Emerging Media Makers, your passion lives here.
Welcome back. Reach Out and Read equips young children for academic success by encouraging families to read together. Partnering with healthcare professionals, the organization leverages the unique relationship between parents and medical providers to foster essential early literacy skills. Executive Director of Reach Out and Read Greater New York, Emily Marchese, joins me to discuss this effort. Emily, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. What an honor.
Now, can you tell me, I gave a little bit of an overview, but can you tell us a little bit more about Reach Out and Read?
Absolutely. So we partner with over 230 hospitals and clinics all throughout New York City to train pediatricians on early literacy and anticipatory guidance so that at every well child visit from 6 months to 5 years old, which is about 10 appointments in general, they are coaching the parents on how to read to their child every night. And then they're also getting from us a new developmentally appropriate, linguistically appropriate book so that by the time the child turns 5, they'll have at least 10 books in their home library.
Now, I'm curious to know, what are some of the type of books, the children will see? I mean, how are these selections made?
Yes, so everything that we do is community led and driven. So our medical professionals and our community members tell us the kinds of books that they would like us to buy, and then we listen to that. So we have formed a book buying buddies coalition so that we can purchase a high volume of diverse books for our sites. And the number one request that we get from our community members, from our medical professionals, is for bilingual books in English, Spanish, as number one, but then also in all the other languages reflected in New York City, which is probably all of them. So we've worked really hard. We now offer bilingual books in 9 different languages. And last year, half of the books that we purchased were bilingual as a direct response to what the community was asking us for.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, can you explain how the program measures the impact of reading on, a child's literacy development over time?
Absolutely. So our big sister national organization has done 20 different independent research studies evaluating all the different components of the program. And what the independent research studies have found is that parents are 2 times more likely to read to their child every night when they go through the Reach Out and Read program. They're 2.5 times more likely to read to their child 3 or more nights a week, and 2 times more likely to enjoy the process of reading to their child. And then children have on average a 3 to 6 month language advantage going through the program. They're also more likely to develop a strong receptive and expressive speech when they go through the program. And then even the pediatricians who participate in the program, the studies have shown that they're less likely to report burnout and more likely to report job satisfaction as a result.
Now, I'm curious to, explore a little bit more about, just reading to your child at night. When I think about it, I think of something that, people did long time ago. And, with all the distractions that we have regarding technology today, can you talk about the importance of actually having that moment with your child or, a child with their parents to actually just read?
It's so centrally important. There are so many distractions, but there's also a ton of research that shows that even just taking those few minutes, cuddling with your child, making eye contact, reading the pages together, laughing, it does a world of good for the parent and child bond in bringing those two closer together. We're actually, the American Association of Pediatrics has named Reach Out and Read as one of the only interventions that balances adverse childhood experiences. We're actually an antidote to those stressors in a child's life. We're a positive childhood experience. So taking that time, and I'm a single mom, I'm busy and tired like all of us are. I will tell you, like when my son was small, sometimes I would skip pages. It's allowed, but so I would say don't be worried about doing it imperfectly, do it consistently, and it makes a world of difference to your child, but also to you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, can you also talk about, this idea that, a parent is a child's first teacher?
Absolutely. Parents are so central to the development of a child. And I think a lot of times we think that a child's educational journey doesn't start until they're in school, when actually the majority of early childhood brain development starts in the 0 to 3 age range. So you are your child's first teacher. And it's so centrally important that parents are engaged and empowered and have those resources and tools that they need in order to be successful. And so when they're going to the well child appointment, they're not just getting the necessary medical interventions, but they're also learning about the best ways to make reading fun. How do you ask your child questions about that are developmentally appropriate? So like, what color shirt are they wearing, or what emotion do you think they're feeling? All of these ways help support parents in what they're already doing such a great job of.
Now, what challenges does Reach Out and Read face in reaching families in predominantly low-income communities?
For us, it's always fundraising. We can go as far as we have the philanthropic dollars to provide books. So our goal, our big dream, is to meet 100% of book need, which means every child at every appointment gets a book, and they're getting these new, beautiful, developmentally appropriate, diverse books. Right now, we're reaching 39% of all little New Yorkers in the 0 to 5 age range, which is a huge accomplishment in our 25 years, but we want to get to 100.
Now that's amazing. And, I'm curious, I briefly brought up technology before, but I've seen, I don't have any children, but I've seen things where people will now have like apps where you could teach a child to read. And I'm curious to know what that experience is for your organization. Is that something that you guys look into, or would you prefer, the standard, open and closed type of book?
Yeah, I think there's no substitute for a parent or your caregiver reading to you and engaging with you in that way, holding you. We really try to emphasize that bond, especially in early childhood. And so there's so many wonderful educational apps and resources that are good to use, but there's no substitute for you as your child's first teacher reading to them.
Now, what feedback have clinicians provided about the impact of the program on their practices and patient relationships?
I mean, it's nothing short of transformational, especially as we've been able to provide more and more bilingual books. It has really changed and uplifted the bond between a clinician and a parent as a trusted messenger. And I think that if you put yourself in the shoes of someone who's recently immigrated to New York City and you only speak Bengali, when your doctor hands you a book that's in English Bengali, you feel as a parent respected and seen and now empowered. This is now much easier for you to read to your child every night because it's in a language that you're comfortable with. And that feeling of respect really transforms the relationship with the child's doctor. So if anything, it's been, green light, full steam ahead, please more diverse books.
Now, can you tell me a little bit more about the 35 for 35 initiative?
Yes, so this is a really exciting anniversary year celebration. Our national organization partnered with Scholastic to order 350,000 diverse books, and they split the cost of that for all of the affiliates. So Reach Out and Read of Greater New York was able to purchase 122,500 books from this initiative, over 30,000 of which went to the Bronx, here to 39 different hospitals and clinics. And it's a beautiful collection of diverse books in terms of family structures, main characters, really wonderful collection.
And, can you explain or just expand on how it relates to Reach Out and Read's overall mission, especially when we're talking about diversity? Over 35 years, I'm sure so much has changed and evolved in regard to that. So can you expand on that just a little bit further?
It's so important for children and families to have windows and doors in their community where they have access to reading books where the main characters look just like them, and that they also have access to books where the main characters or their families are different from them. That reflects the real world communities that we all live in. And so we're doing a great service to children when they have the ability to picture themselves as the main character in life. And it's really wonderful to see so many new titles like Nikki Giovanni's The Library, or Bathe the Cat, or Julian at the Wedding, that really celebrate these main characters in our lives.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the Book Buddies program?
We built this coalition. It was in the COVID times when fundraising was a real challenge, and we knew that when we order books at a high volume, we're able to activate bulk discount pricing. And so we got together with all of our New York City early literacy friends, the public libraries, Link, literacy partners. We all put our money into a pot, and we said we want to order 10 to 15 books for the 0 to 5 year old population, and we want all the books to be diverse. And together, we have this big pot of money that will activate discount pricing. And so we've been running that program for 3 years now. On average, we're able to get these beautiful diverse books that retail for $8.99, $9.99. We're able to purchase them for $1.90 to $2.25, which is how we've been able to purchase books in English Bengali or English Chinese, which are typically much more expensive. So it's been a great way, not only for us as an organization, but for all the organizations that partner with us to have access to those books.
And I also want to talk about it from a societal standpoint. We've seen in places like here in the Bronx where we don't really have access to a lot of bookstores, or bookstores are, closing. Can you talk about, what impact that could have on future generations of children?
Yeah, we're really hopeful that this earns us a seat at the table, and when talking to publishers about the kind of books that we would like to purchase and see, and we are reflecting the families and the communities and what they would like to see and what they would like to read. So to really open the funnel to have more authors, illustrators, main characters that reflect diverse viewpoints, I think that's so critically important. And together as a coalition, I think we have a lot more power than each of us alone would have.
Now, how does the organization plan to expand its reach and influence in literacy development in the future?
Yes, so I mentioned that we're really proud that in our 25-year history, we're now up to 39% of New York City's 0 to 5 population. That's a huge achievement, but we're not stopping at 39%. So we'd love to get to, we're not right now working with the board to develop a 3-year strategic plan. We want to get to 50% in the next 3 years. And then we're also not going to stop at 50%. So what does the plan look like to get to 100%? And we really rely on our partners, our individual donors, our board members, foundations, and politicians as well to help support us getting there.
Now, I want to thank you. Just, with that being said, I'm somebody who grew up with a lot of books around me, so I know the importance of that. And it was huge in my family. So with that being said, I just want to thank you so much for joining us and, really having the discussion of the importance of reading, especially in a borough like the Bronx. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
To learn more about the 35 for 35 initiative, please visit the website reachoutandreadnyc.org. We've come to the end of our show today. I'd like to thank all of our guests for joining us and you, the viewers, for tuning in. If you miss any part of today's show, you can catch the Rehabilicast at 5 and 10 p.m. on Optimum Channels 67 and Verizon Fios Channel 33, or watch anytime on the web at BronxNet.org. You can catch a brand new episode of Open with Darren Hemick on Wednesday and with Rena Valentine on Friday. I'm Kibin Alleyne, wishing you and yours safety and wellness now and always. See you next time.